Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. I am Robin Giebelhausen.
And I'm Cathy Fox.
And I have 11 questions.
And I have 11 answers. Maybe.
Ooh. All right, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Cathy Fox, and I teach general music. Right now, I have students in grades 1 through 6.
And how do you and I know one another?
Robin and I first met because we were both working in Grand Ledge Public Schools. It turned out we both were teaching ukulele, and so we had that in common.
Mm-hmm. Who was one music teacher that really influenced you?
I like this question because I realized that there are so many music teachers over time who have influenced me, and I think that's such a good thing. Like, there are so many, I've met so many innovative teachers over my years of teaching, which are many. But I think if I go back to when I was in college, when I was a sophomore, we got a new general music professor. And she was young and excited, and she was I could relate to her. She was the first of my music professors that I felt like I could use as a role model. Mm-hmm. And until that time, as probably every entering music ed major, I really saw myself teaching high school. But when I met her and I saw her teach, we had an early childhood lab. And when I saw her teach that level, I thought this is going to be for me. So I think overall, she probably had the biggest impact on my career.
Mm-hmm. What's the one thing in music education that you think most music educators do really well?
I think that they all seem to share this great love of performing and making music. Like, no matter who you meet or what kind of methodology they use, or if you think maybe they're a good teacher or a bad teacher, we all love our subject area and chose that. When you talk to people, they'll say, well, why didn't you go into classroom teaching? And it wasn't about that for me. It was like, I loved music and I wanted to be in the field of music and I wanted to share it with other people. And I think that music teachers have that in common.
What's one instrument you wish you could play or wish you could play better?
I played the violin when I was from like age 8 on until into college. But I played classical violin, but I've always kind of wanted to play fiddle.
Oh, sure.
And I know there's a local place I could go to learn that. So someday I'm going to brush off,
one day,
fix the strings, rehair the bow, and learn to play fiddle. Here's true. My question is, what's one historical figure? I think one of the reasons this is hard is we just don't know that many historical women. So what popped into my mind, I don't know why, is Eleanor Roosevelt. Okay. And I think every time I see a quote from her, I just think she was a woman in her own right. She didn't really ride the coattails of her husband. She did her own thing. And she wasn't known for her beauty or her charm. Sure. It was just her mind.
What's one thing in music education that you're currently questioning?
We have new Common Core standards. And even though the ideas behind it, like students' independent musicianship and listening to what the students' preferences are and being creative, I embrace all of those. If you take away just the regular skill development that we've had in the past and just put that in, I'm worried about what the outcome of that will be. So I'm questioning that right now. But I'm old enough that I remember when the first national standards came out and people felt the same way then about, they were afraid that all the other things other than performing and note reading would take over. Sure. And I don't think that that's the case. I think what it ended up doing is making more people embrace composition and improvisation. So I'm hopeful that with the Common Core that will turn out to be the same, where people will start listening to what students' preferences are and talk about students' music. Yeah.
Well, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Well, as I near the end of this profession, I'm not sure exactly what it will be, but I would like to be in a place that's quiet.
Music teaching isn't quiet?
I would like a job where I went to work and then I went home and my time there was my own.
Sure.
I hate the feeling always of guilt, like you're either not doing enough at home or you're not doing enough at work, and it would be nice just to have like a separation of those two, and maybe there isn't a job like that. But teaching is one where you pretty much live it all the time.
What do you wish someone had told you before you first decided to be a music educator?
I don't think I was aware of how I would be separate from the other people that do my job in the building. I just was totally unaware. I felt like what I did was really important, and I had no idea that I was going to be kind of a second-class citizen among my colleagues. And it hasn't always been that way. I think especially once people get to know you as a person and they realize how serious you are about being an educator. I think there are people who realize that you are a good teacher and it doesn't matter what you teach. Mm-hmm. But there are also a lot of people that think otherwise.
What's a piece of music that you've been listening to recently?
You know, this is a hard one for me too, because I tend to listen to a lot of what I think my students are listening to. And even on my running playlist, I find once a song has kind of made it into their repertoire, it ends up being
Part of yours.
part of my repertoire.
And last question, what would be the title of your autobiography or biography?
Foxy Lady.
But for now, a haiku. A chat with Cathy.
About teaching and music.
11 questions. And Buddy is having a meal behind us.
Hi, Bud. Come over here.
Yeah, be in the video?
There he is.